Working memory. How it works, and how to improve it. Contents. Introduction. Chapter 1. What is working memory? Chapter 2. How does working memory work? Chapter 3. Working memory and the brain. Chapter 4. How to measure working memory? Chapter 5. Techniques to improve working memory. Chapter 6. Practical exercises to strengthen working memory. Chapter 7. Working memory and learning disabilities. Conclusion. Introduction. Working memory is a fascinating and complex topic that has captivated scientists and researchers for decades. This form of short-term memory allows us to store and manipulate information for a short period of time, in order to use it to accomplish a task. It plays a crucial role in our ability to learn, understand, and reason. In this book, we will explore in depth how working memory works and how it is managed by our brain. We will also look at the different techniques and strategies you can use to improve it and boost your cognitive abilities. Whether you are a student looking to improve your academic performance, a professional wishing to strengthen your problem-solving skills, or simply someone interested in the science of memory, this book will provide you with valuable information and practical advice for help get the most out of your working memory. So get ready to dive into the fascinating world of working memory and find out how you can improve it to achieve your goals and fulfill your potential. Chapter 1. What is working memory? Working memory is often compared to a mental whiteboard on which we can write, erase, and rewrite information as we use it to complete a task. Buffering is essential for many cognitive activities, such as language comprehension, problem solving, and decision making. It allows us to hold information in memory while we process it and use it to accomplish a task. For example, when we read a complex sentence, our working memory allows us to remember the previous words while continuing to read the following words. This allows us to understand the overall meaning of the sentence and draw conclusions from it. Short-term memory is limited in terms of capacity and duration. We can only store so much information in our working memory at a time, and that information only stays in memory for a short period of time before it is forgotten or transferred to our long-term memory. Because of these limitations, it is important to use strategies to improve our working memory and strengthen our ability to store and manipulate information. In the following chapters, we'll explore these strategies in detail, and how you can use them to improve your short-term memory. Chapter 2. How does working memory work? Working memory is a complex system that involves several regions of the brain, mainly located in the prefrontal cortex. When we receive information, it is first processed by our senses and sent to our brain in the form of electrical signals. These signals are then transmitted to different regions of the brain to be processed and interpreted. Once the information has been processed, it is stored in our buffer in the form of elements called chunks. A chunk is a group of related information organized in such a way that it is easily accessible. The capacity of our short-term memory is limited, which means that we can only store a limited number of chunks at a time. When we reach this limit, we either have to forget some information to store new information, or transfer this information to our long-term memory to retain it. According to the famous American psychologist George Armitage Miller, who wrote the influential 1956 article The Magic Number 7 plus or minus 2, which established that our working memory is limited to about 7 chunks of information at a time. This means that our working memory can process on average about 7 chunks of information at the same time, plus or minus 2. As its name suggests, short-term memory is limited in duration. This duration is more or less long, as we will see in a future article. This information will therefore either be forgotten or transferred to our long-term memory. In summary, short-term memory works by storing and manipulating information for a short period of time in order to use it to complete a task. It is limited in terms of capacity and duration, which requires the use of strategies to optimize its operation. Chapter 4. How to measure working memory. There are several methods to measure working memory capacity. One of the most commonly used methods is to use complex span tasks. A span is an old measure of length that is based on the width of an open hand, from the tip of the thumb to the tip of the little finger, or about 20 centimeters. If we compare the width of an open hand with a basketball and a cup, we could say that the width of an open hand is smaller than the diameter of a standard basketball, which measures approx 24 centimeters. So, quite difficult to hold with a span, but larger than the width of a standard cup, which is approx 10 centimeters, so quite easy to hold. So a basketball is about 1.2 spans in diameter, while a cup is about 0.5 spans in width. The handle of the cup also allows a person to hold the cup using only their fingers, without having to wrap their hand completely around the cup, which makes it even easier. This allows a person to hold objects of much larger dimensions than the span of their hand would normally allow. In the same way that the handle of a cup allows a person to hold objects of much larger dimensions than their span would normally allow, memory strategies can act as a handle to aid the span mind to hold much more complex concepts than its mind normally would. Memory strategies are techniques that help people better remember new information by linking this new information to previously acquired knowledge through the use of visual or audio cues. These strategies can help people expand their memory span by allowing them to memorize more information than they normally could. Memory span is the maximum length of a series of items that can be memorized after a single presentation. It is a measure of short-term memory capacity. For example, if a person can recall a list of 7 digits after hearing them once, their memory span for the digits is 7. While short-term memory capacity is measured by evaluating the longest list of numbers, words, or letters that an individual can recall immediately after presentation, simple span tasks, working memory tasks require, in addition to this maintenance, the performance of a concurrent task, complex span tasks. For example, in the reading span task, individuals must judge the plausibility of sentences they read aloud, while remembering the last word of each one. This task can be replaced by other tasks during which the subject must simultaneously carry out a processing operation, arithmetic task, counting of points, simple reading of a series of figures presented successively on the screen, whereas words or letters must be retained. The maximum number of items that an individual is able to remember under these conditions constitutes his working memory span. This simple measure turns out to be a good predictor of performance in a number of high-level cognitive activities, learning, problem solving, reasoning, etc., as well as academic performance. In summary, there are several methods for measuring working memory capacity. One of the most commonly used methods is to use complex span tasks that assess an individual's ability to store and manipulate information while performing a concurrent task. Chapter 5. Techniques to improve working memory. There are several techniques to improve working memory. These techniques can be grouped into 2 categories: entrainment techniques and compensation techniques. Training techniques are aimed at directly strengthening working memory capacity by performing specific exercises. These exercises can include complex span tasks, memory games, or repetition exercises. Here are 5 exercises to improve your working memory. 1. Shopping list exercise. Try remembering a shopping list using your working memory. You can start with a list of 5 items and gradually increase the number of items. 2. Repetition exercise. Try repeating a series of numbers or letters in your head. You can start with a series of 3 elements and gradually increase the number of elements. 3. Task switching exercise. Try switching quickly from one task to another to improve your ability to use your working memory. 4. Card game exercise. Try to memorize cards from a deck using your working memory. 5. Sudoku exercise. Try solving Sudoku puzzles to improve your ability to use your working memory. Compensation techniques, on the other hand, aim to help individuals make better use of their working memory by using strategies to limit the impact of working memory problems. These strategies can include using visual representations, writing down important ideas or projects, using visual routines, or identifying a specific place to put important things. From a scientific perspective, using visuals has been proven to help individuals remember information more effectively. The reason for this is that images are deposited and stored directly in our long-term memory, while words go to our short-term memory. It can help circumvent the limitations of our working memory by using visual representations to store and process information more efficiently. A concrete example of using visual representation to help make better use of our working memory is the mind map. The mind map is a graphical representation that is visually striking and easy to understand. It brings together keywords, illustrations, drawings, colors, or links around the same subject. It allows information to be mapped on a readable and easily memorized document. Using visual thinking, the mind map can help students simplify, understand, analyze, and retain knowledge. Because they solicit various networks of neurons in the brain, the recognition of shapes, colors, faces, sensations, images can be permanently anchored in our memory. Writing down important ideas or projects can help circumvent the limitations of working memory by allowing this information to be stored outside of our short-term memory. This can help free up space in our working memory for other tasks and avoid forgetting important information. The list of things that we have written down only requires one chunk of information: the list itself. For example, writing down every important idea or project that comes to mind can help you remember what you need to do. A concrete example of the strategy of writing down important ideas is taking notes during a class or a lecture. When taking notes, you can divide your text into sections and the sections into paragraphs. You can then find the main idea and secondary ideas of each paragraph, and add elements to justify your ideas, such as proofs or quotations. This strategy can help to better organize, structure, and remember the important information presented during a course or a conference. There are several advantages to structuring your ideas. First of all, at the level of the ideas themselves, by allowing them to better organize and prioritize their thoughts, which can help clarify their thinking and make more informed decisions. Structuring your ideas can also help you communicate better with others, presenting your ideas clearly and coherently. Finally, structuring one's ideas can also help to stimulate creativity by making it possible to visualize the links between the different ideas and to generate new ideas from these links. But structuring ideas can have several benefits for working memory. It can help better organize and prioritize information, which can make it easier to store and retrieve in working memory. Second, structuring ideas can also help sustain attention and resist distractions, which can improve working memory performance. Finally, structuring one's ideas can also help to make better use of working memory during complex tasks, by making it easier to manipulate the information stored in the buffer. Using visual routines and identifying a specific place to put important things can help circumvent working memory limitations by reducing the amount of information our working memory has to process. This can help free up space in our short-term memory for other tasks and prevent forgetting important information. For example, using visual routines or identifying a specific place to put important things can help remember what to do. A concrete example of using visual routines to better utilize working memory is the use of a visual schedule to help children follow daily routines. A visual schedule can describe the activities that occur throughout a day during specific routines, e.g. morning or bedtime, or to show the steps required to complete a task, e.g. washing hands or getting dressed. Using a visual schedule can help children better understand and follow routines, providing them with clear and concrete visual cues. It can also help reduce the cognitive load on working memory, allowing children to refer to the visual schedule rather than having to remember every step of a routine. It is also important to note that certain lifestyle habits can have a positive impact on working memory. For example, playing sports can help oxygenate the brain and improve its cognitive functions. Likewise, a healthy diet and adequate sleep can positively influence working memory. In summary, there are several techniques to improve operational memory. These techniques may include specific training exercises or the use of compensation strategies to better utilize working memory. Healthy lifestyle habits can also have a positive impact on working memory. Chapter 6. Practical exercises to strengthen working memory. There are several practical exercises to strengthen working memory. These exercises can include mental calculations, memory games, or repetition exercises. Here are some examples of exercises you can do at home to strengthen your working memory. 1. Mental calculations. Say 3 numbers out loud. The child must, for example, add the first 2, then subtract the third digit from the total. You can also have the child count by 3s or 4s from a random number. 2. Recite backwards. Ask the child to spell vocabulary words backwards, or do the same with a sequence of numbers, letters, or words. 3. Listen to a story to answer a question. Before reading a story, choose a question for the child to answer. For example, counting the number of characters or finding the color of the main character's hat. This exercise will work not only working memory, but also concentration and reading comprehension. 4. Memory games. Memory games with cards, where identical cards are matched, or of the in my suitcase, I bring type, where everyone adds an object to bring, and must remember the list of previous objects helps stimulate short-term memory. In summary, there are several practical exercises to strengthen working memory. These exercises may include mental calculations, memory games, or repetition exercises that improve the ability to store and manipulate information. Chapter 7. Working memory and learning disabilities. Learning disabilities are often characterized by problems affecting working memory. Short-term memory is fundamental to student acquisition, and is at the center of learning situations, whether in literacy, numeracy, or social situations. There is a high prevalence between certain disorders and working memory difficulties. For example, about 70% of students with learning disabilities in reading had very low scores on the working memory assessment, which is a very rare phenomenon among students with no learning disabilities. This low working memory capacity was also a feature of students with other types of learning disabilities, such as language impairment, writing impairment, and math impairment. For people with working memory impairment, Losing information that was stored in working memory can be a huge barrier to learning. Distractions can impair our working memory by dispersing our attention and overloading the mnemonic system, which can lead to the loss of information stored in working memory. Working memory is limited in capacity, and if we scatter our attention or overload the mnemonic system, we can lose some of the stored information, and thus end up with fewer chunks of information to handle the current cognitive load. There are many distractions that can limit our working memory. For example, here is a list of modern distractions we may face: cell phone notifications, social networks, emails, online advertisements, phone calls, music or videos in the background, the conversations of colleagues or people around us, traffic or city noise. These distractions can impair our ability to sustain attention and store information in working memory. To help students with learning disabilities and poor working memory, there are several effective strategies. These strategies may include the use of compensation strategies, recall strategies, or external memory aids as discussed above. In summary, learning disabilities can often be associated with problems affecting working memory. To help students with learning disabilities and poor working memory, there are several effective strategies that can be used to improve their ability to store and manipulate information. Conclusion: take action to improve your working memory. Throughout this book, we have explored in depth how working memory works and how it is managed by our brain. We've also looked at the different techniques and strategies you can use to improve your memory buffer and boost your cognitive abilities. Now that you have all this information in hand, it's time to take action. Don't wait to start using the techniques and strategies we've outlined to improve your working memory. Do hands-on exercises to strengthen your working memory, use compensation strategies to make better use of your working memory, and adopt healthy lifestyle habits to support healthy brain function. By practicing these tips and working regularly to improve your working memory, you will be able to reach your goals and realize your potential. So don't wait any longer. Take action today.